To another episode of Pillar Perspective. This is actually part two, where Maria and I, where we interview Maryam and Youssef about being inclusive at youth and the issues of being exclusive and judgment. So last time we were actually discussing how some people who are new to the youth might feel excluded. But what about people who are already part of the youth who begin to feel that they are excluded or begin to kind of feel isolated at youth? What about that?
Yeah, I think it's a very case-by-case thing. I think it's very hard to pinpoint one like overlying, general reason as to why someone who was otherwise very ingrained in the community has left, or has felt isolated. I think that lots of people have falling outs, and that could be for any number of reasons. Lots of people make mistakes in their past, and gossip leads to a lot of rumors going around, and judgment is something big within our community sometimes, where we might not even be explicitly showing our judgment, but implicitly treating somebody different because of what we've heard about them, or we've heard about something they've done, and that is very, it's very hurtful to that person as well, who feels like they can't recover from their mistake. As to why we can't resolve this issue, I think there's many barriers to why people can't resolve their issues, or whatever's causing that isolation, that cut up that relationship in the first place. I think the human ego is a big one. I think people are very reluctant to have those important conversations every now and again, which might lead to resolution. I think that's a very hard conversation for people to have a lot, and it might be hindering that closeness that we talked about in the last episode, how everybody craves that closeness and sees what other people have and they want it. And especially if you once had it and now you don't have it anymore, it's even more of a craving for that social connection. So I think it's our responsibility to sort of get to the crux of the issue and talk about it with people.
Exactly. And I agree 100%, Youssef. And two ways of doing that is, I guess, recognizing that there's a problem to start off with.
First, yeah.
So if we can recognize that there's an issue, then we can sort of work on solving it. And I reckon early intervention and prevention are the most important things that we can do.
Spoken like a true psychologist.
So for that, I guess if we have emotional intelligence, then we will be very quick at recognizing when someone is feeling a little bit like not themselves, or starting to isolate themselves, or starting not to, I guess, mingle with the same people or in the same way. You'll start picking up cues, environmental cues, if you are emotionally sensitive and have a high level of, I guess, EIQ. And that's why it's very important to have that, because we need to intervene early, or even practice that to prevent any of that stuff from escalating to that degree.
So just for our viewers who don't know what EIQ is, can you explain to us what emotional intelligence is?
Yep, so I'll define it. Okay, so emotional intelligence is the capability of individuals to recognize their own emotions and those of others, discern between different feelings and label them appropriately, use emotional information to guide thinking and behavior, and manage or adjust emotions to adapt to environments or achieve one's goals. And I just want to speak quickly about capability versus ability. So, for example, the good thing about EIQ is that it's not an ability, it's a capability. So you can actually develop it. It's a skill that you can acquire. You don't have to be born with it. Unlike fluid intelligence, which is, I say that to Youssef because I feel like he's an intelligent person. But unlike IQ, it's something that you can actually develop, and anyone has access to it. And we really need to develop it more in order to pick up on things that are before they escalate, and it will really help within our ministry.
I think stuff like body language and things like that, we live in an age where a lot of people might have low IQ, my EIQ, myself included, because we spend so much time interacting with people over social media and not actually doing face-to-face interaction as
100%.
much as we used to in the past. So I
That's
think
right.
that's the reason why it's lacking, or it's a bit deficient in a lot of the community.
And not everyone is in touch or is empathetic or is, I guess, it's not something that just comes natural to everybody to be able to be so aware of their surroundings, of their environment, of people's reactions and people's emotions. So that's why it's something that you can learn and that we really should be teaching a lot and educating, ourselves and others about. Because this is something that can prevent so much exclusion that's unintentional, like what Youssef's saying, and it could be not just exclusion, it could actually bring about a lot of fruitful things, and it could be really good for service.
So is it that EIQ helps you identify the situation so you can address it? Is
Yes.
that where it comes in?
Yeah, so identify
Okay.
the situation or a problem, if there's a problem, or do things in order to, I guess, be proactive and have initiative to do things so they don't cause problems later. So
Okay.
an emotionally sensitive and intelligent person would want to make sure that they strategize, or they have within their groups, for example, like we said last episode, someone who's going to approach new people, or those who might be feeling like they're alone, or those who might be appearing like they're lonely, to join their group. So if we speak about these conversations early, even before problems happen, that's being emotionally sensitive and being an inclusive place. And that's really important to be able to, I guess, prevent issues like.
You mentioned reading the room
Yes.
in the last episode, being able to identify the situations. So.
Yeah. And there's a couple of just things that I want to touch on that are really important for emotional intelligence. First one is self-awareness. So we've got to be actually aware of our own, downfalls, our own weaknesses, our own strengths, and how we come across to others. We can do that by getting feedback from others about how we might come across. Things like social skills, so how are we at communication, and empathy, be empathic, so putting ourselves in each other's shoes or in different people's shoes, so that will help reduce blaming, like we spoke about last episode. Instead of saying, oh, why didn't that person, come, and why didn't that person introduce themselves, how would we feel if we came to a new setting and that we were expecting, they were expecting us to come and introduce ourselves. So putting ourselves in each other's shoes is very important to develop emotional intelligence. Last one is attitude, motivation, and passion. So that's also a part of developing emotional intelligence and being able to regulate ourselves and manage our own emotions.
So we've talked a lot about things that we can be doing, such as, improving our emotional intelligence. What are some barriers, do you think, that are stopping us from being an inclusive youth, and what are some things that we might be doing right now that are things that we can improve on, things that things that are a tendency among the youth that are kind of stopping us from moving forward?
Well, I don't want to, we're not going to label anything, we're just talking in general. But I think a big part, we did mention this in the previous episode, we talked about how sometimes you might not consciously, or you might not have the intent to exclude, right? But it's just something that happens subconsciously or consciously, because everybody wants to be around the people they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be able to be their true self, and sometimes when you're around people you're not very close with, you might have to put on a little bit of a facade, a little bit of a face, someone you're not actually that person, and you might have to put on that face in front of people you don't know. But everybody wants to be their true self around the people they're close with. But we talked about how, although that's all really good, we need to also do that without being exclusive, without being uninviting to others. What we want to do is we want to spread the love. We want to give people the opportunity to develop that close connection with us, so that they can be themselves around us and we can be ourselves around them.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big one. In terms of barriers, in terms of just being aware of that thing in the first place, the fact that there's somebody standing over there who would love to be part of this fun that I'm having, and being able to identify that and invite that person in. It's very easy for you to do that. It's very hard for them to force themselves in. And a second thing I think I should mention is this whole handballing the responsibility
Just
to other
someone
people,
else,
right?
Yeah.
So
unless it's done in a strategic way.
Yeah.
But if you're just going to say someone else will do it.
Yeah. In terms of saying, this million people, 30 people here at youth, why should it be me who's going to be the one to go up to this
Why do
person?
I have to be the one that stops my conversation and goes up to this person? It's kind of uncomfortable. I'll just let someone else do it.
And it is, but again, change starts within us. If everybody takes it within themselves to actually do something, then it's going to be a different place.
I think it's a
Like,
group effort. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really not a one-person job.
no.
This whole idea of including others, especially in a group setting, if people feel included in the general group, which is a group effort to achieve, I think that's when you get the best results.
Yeah.
Not
I
when one
think
person's doing the work.
it's also about communication. Like, if I ask that person, "Are you okay? What's been happening for you? Did like you don't seem 100%?" You know, they might actually let you in. So sometimes it's not about just assuming what others are feeling or what's wrong or what has happened, but communicate and show that, look, even if they don't want to talk about it, just tell them that you're there and that you would love to have a chat anytime. And that's what digging to the deep means. Like, actually, not just being superficial and saying, "Hope you're okay." Do you really? Like, do you really care? Seriously? But if you follow up with that person the next day or after youth group or next week and, you know, say, "What's been happening? Like, I'm worried. I've been thinking about you." That will actually invite you into their life. And they'll feel like you're genuine, you're authentic. You're not just giving them some, just ticking off boxes or just, So I just feel like it's really important to communicate, talk to them, ask, and acknowledge that you're actually thinking about that person.
Can I just ask a question on that topic? Because personally, I've been someone who's been told that I don't communicate very well. Maria can back it up. So this is just a personal question for myself. I think, like in terms of bringing something up with somebody, especially if it's something you've found this out from their body language, not something that they've explicitly said to you, right? So what do you have to say towards, like, what kind of judgment you need to have to discern the right time to bring that up? Or maybe it might not be the right situation to bring it up. Maybe just including them without saying anything might be the right thing to do. Because I feel like sometimes bringing something up it brings the issue out in the open, but sometimes it's not necessary. Like sometimes it makes things more awkward than they were in the first place. So I think that sometimes there's time for action and to just do. Like if you think somebody is feeling excluded, just include them.
100%.
Without bringing up that conversation, making them feel
that
awkward
would be
about it.
what I said about communicating would happen. I guess it depends again, case by case. But like if you've tried to include that person, or you've seen like they haven't been attending at all, then that will require a bit of action.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Whether that action could be a conversation or a different kind of thing, like then that's again case by case. But I guess if you've tried a couple of things and they don't work, then why not have that conversation? But again, it might not be appropriate for everyone. So you got to be a little bit of a judge of that. And that's where I guess seeking counsel, seeking advice would be really helpful as well. Whether it's from, I don't know, someone you trust, someone that's reliable, or a priest or whatever, then that would be helpful.
Someone else in the group.
Someone else in the group, that you trust.
I agree, and I like Youssef's point about if you feel like someone's being excluded, just include them. And if like your first kind of action should be just to include them. If your first action is to kind of bring it up with them, if you do like start including them or start doing things that are including them a bit later, it might make them a bit self-conscious. If you've kind of had that conversation with them, they might feel as though there's like an element of pity there. But if you just kind of do things without saying anything,
then that's even better.
It might be a bit better. And then if that like what you said, if you find it is necessary to kind of take it one step further, then you do that. But the first line of action is to just to be as inclusive as possible.
And some people have a good level or a high, I guess, I don't know what you call it, like a gut feeling. I like going with my gut feeling sometimes. So if I keep trying stuff and it doesn't work and that some person is not coming and I feel like there's an issue, ask. But that's if it persists, that feeling when you're like, I'm trying and it's still not working, something's up. And then you might hear it from others, like God, pray about it, guys, as well. We have to pray. So if it really, God still gives you that, I guess the Holy Spirit inside still gives us an uneasy feeling, then maybe it needs a conversation. So we have to not be so afraid of confrontation and talk about things if needed, but in a gentle, assertive way. But Youssef, what are you going to say about praying?
I was going to say, when you're saying gut feeling, I was going to say, obviously we can't forget God's role in all of this, where like the Holy Spirit is guiding us to do the right thing. And even when we might be unsure, we might have that gut feeling because that's what we're meant to do. So I think it's always worth exploring that gut feeling.
What do you guys think is like a way of keeping ourselves accountable when it comes to being exclusive or judging people, excuse me, both keeping ourselves accountable as individuals and keeping ourselves accountable as a youth when it comes to this issue of judging people and being exclusive.
I love that question. Just because I'm so results driven. But look, guys, whenever we do stuff, we shouldn't really wait for a result because we're getting heavenly rewards. Okay, so it doesn't matter if we don't see what like the result of all the hard work that we're doing is, but we should try. Okay, to find some kind of result. Okay, so for example, for me, it's two main things. First one is to keep each other, accountable, is to ask the question to other people, like, first, actually, before that, asking ourselves, have I spoken to this person? Have I been approachable? Have I, said hello? Have I engaged or tried to connect with the new people or anyone who I perceive like they might need a connection? Okay, so have I done that? Second one is to challenge and question others as well. And then, like, have you done that? Like, again, within your group, so people you're close with, why don't you do this? I'll do this. So again, like giving each other, like motivating each other to do things. And if that, I guess, you're already good as a group in doing that stuff, then challenge each other to go further. So I don't think it's ever enough to just be like, we've done our best. Sometimes, all right, good, we've done our best, God will do the rest, so maybe we'll keep praying about it and then revisit in a couple of months, or we'll revisit in a different way. But in order to say, a lot of people fairly sometimes just say, look, we've tried a couple of times, there's no way. That's it, like, too bad. But what did Jesus do with the lost sheep? The one lost sheep. So that's just how, for me, keeping each other accountable and keeping myself accountable is by asking each other and challenging each other. And then seeing, has that person or those people been coming regularly? Are they not? But it's not just a numbers game. Like, have we been connecting on a deeper level? Do we know anything about their lives? Do they have friendships within our youth ministry or within
and not to say you have to have a deep connection with every person but do they have somebody that they have that
they
with?
trust or they have?
And I think for ourselves, something that we can do is, in terms of like our own reflection, look, instead of looking, because I know a lot of people might be like, okay, well, I have like this example of a person, look what I did, I talked to them and it worked and now I'm done, that's my job's done. But I think it's more of, it should be more of a continual thing, like, okay, in the past 2 months, have I reached out to someone that I don't usually reach out to?
Love that.
Have I gone out of my comfort zone to make someone feel more comfortable themselves? Asking ourselves, have I done this recently? So you're continually keeping yourself accountable.
Yeah, I think we can't get content. So it's like an active process all the time. Self-reflection, making sure we're aware of the social dynamic, making sure we can identify those people that we talked about. And if we see someone new, we need to be aware of that. Like, you might be so occupied with what you're doing, you might not even notice there's somebody new at you,
Exactly.
So
it happens a lot.
something as simple as just being aware and never being content, because it's like repentance, right? It's like you're gonna fall, you're gonna fall, but you always keep getting up. And we live our life of repentance is that we're always continually striving to be like God. Okay, we never sit there and be like, okay, I did good works today, I did some bad, but I'm content. No, we don't think like that, do we?
No.
There's always room for improvement. So I think the way that we can hold ourselves accountable, like your questions are not, is that we can always never be content and make sure we're aware
Always want to try
of what
harder.
we're doing at all times. Ask ourselves, what can I do better?
I think that's a very good way to end today's discussion.
Before that,
Very, very good
I
note.
want, actually, this is an accountability task, just an example one for our youth ministry.
Okay.
And you guys might be better at this than me because sometimes, I don't know, like I might just be over the top. But like with
No.
Never would have guessed.
in our own youth ministry, there's, for example, messages that go out every Friday or every whatever, just to let people know about what services are on. But I know that everybody has like their friendship, I guess, groups that people are involved in, and you might like. There's one that says "Say No to Coptic Girls." Not sure what
Again,
that's about.
we played the
But
I've
anyway,
never heard of such a group.
but
No
anyway,
comment.
Honestly,
like, is there groups?
Horrible name.
Is there groups that
I agree.
that I guess are bigger? Whether it's a WhatsApp group, whether it's a Facebook group, whether it's a, I don't know, Snapchat group these days. I think that has a group as well. I don't know. But something that we can, because we're relational beings. So if we know and if we're aware of others who are excluded or who might feel that way because we don't have a relationship with them, is there a way of, I guess, expanding some groups to include others, and then in that way sharing material that's spiritually uplifting, that's motivating, or that's just, I don't know, funny, whatever it is that you guys do in your groups, but just making them a bit bigger.
Talk
without
about youth as well.
Yeah, so
Pass
without
the message on.
yeah, let's talk about that further, but without even, I don't want to invade your personal groups. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying mess or expand your current groups. I'm just saying, is there a way of making other groups that are more in the ministry, embedded for that reason, to avoid, I guess, not to avoid, but to improve relationships between the youth.
Yeah, actually, the quiet time group.
Oh, you have a
Yeah,
quiet
yeah.
time. That's excellent.
Actually, yeah. So
Mad
on
If it's a boys group,
That's what I
Man's
figured.
cave.
yeah,
Man's
there's
quiet
just
time.
in addition to like the normal boys group chat, whatever. There's a quiet time group chat
For
where
exclusive spiritual content.
Yeah.
that's
it's
so
very
good.
good.
So you can add people to that, I guess.
That is
it's
good.
it's a very big contrast between the stuff that's going on
That happens
in
none of
the,
this.
in the two groups.
Yeah. But like, see, why can't you, for example, or what would be a barrier to expanding such a group? Because if everybody or anybody that's included, I guess, is told about the rules from the start, say you
Yeah.
add 5 new people today,
Yeah.
and then you just, I guess, refer them to, I don't know, the group rules or whatever it is, that this is only spiritual content, these people would feel included again.
Yeah.
And it would make them feel like they belong. It would give them like a feeling of like, I belong on, this is sort of my church, this is, I feel like I can relate back.
I agree.
this is-
I
that would be
actually,
beautiful.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, but as long as there is some sort of, it's not just like a group with like a massive group of like 100 people to
No,
kind of keep
yeah.
it like a man's quiet time and
Yeah,
then maybe a
like Youssef
woman's
said
quiet
before.
time.
Yeah, remember how you said like people can connect more better if it's in a
If it's in a
close. So
smaller
I'm saying
setting,
don't
yeah.
make it. It's a balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying make it a very big group.
Yeah, not big enough so that people actually feel a bit uncomfortable sharing spiritual stuff. Like, oh, hey guys, because sometimes I personally get like a bit anxious, like sending something in a group, especially for something spiritual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, his verse is better than mine.
Yeah. So expanding it, but also making sure that it's still like a friendly and intimate
Yeah.
enough environment.
With spiritual stuff, I think a lot of the times the things you might share with your friends are things that you connect with personally. So I think it's
That's
fair
good.
enough that some people might be reluctant because it might be something that strike the nerve in you because of an insecurity you might have or something you might be struggling with spiritually. It's fair enough that you wouldn't want to share that.
But
Yeah,
they can
the
send
100
it in the
people.
boys group.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think that if
just
everybody
like-
made a conscious effort to sort of make smaller groups and make a conscious effort to expand their groups a bit smaller,
Yeah, that would be.
and if
helpful.
everyone did that, we wouldn't have any issues. Everyone would
Yeah.
feel very
Yeah.
well integrated.
Mm.
Like we said, it's very easy to be inclusive. It's
That's
very
right.
easy to be inviting to
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
people.
And we can always do that, I guess, by letting people know if you'd like to be added to any specific groups, like spiritual content groups or whatever. Let us know.
I
Yeah.
think even beyond that, instead of extending a general invite, we should like ask people individually because I know a lot of the time when you do like these big invites, like okay, I kind of do want to join, but I'm a
it's
bit
almost
awkward
to ask.
approaching you.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. You're better. That's so good.
So yeah, message your friends
Yeah, just drop it in. Just
Or
casually.
non-friends.
or non-friends. Message
Yeah.
everyone.
Personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks guys for joining us for this second episode.
Thank you.
It's been a really great talk, and I think it'll be really beneficial for everyone.
Yeah.
I benefited
Hope so.
a lot from
Yeah,
this.
me
I
Thank
did
you
too.
guys. Yep.
I know more about your groups now.
Well, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.